So, funny for this moment. I got a chip right before you call my name. Timer is. Okay. Thank you. Pull slow closer to me.
You can put it up there if you want to. Just pick it up and put it on there.
Okay.
There you go.
Make yourself at home.
All right. I will do that. Well, good evening.
Good evening.
1984. There was this young, confused person who had ran away to England to serve in the military, who came back. Had no idea what life held for him. Absolutely zero. And he met this gorgeous young woman at a church event that his parents had taken him to. And from there, kept going. And I asked this person, even before I came here tonight, what the theme should be. So this is both of us that you're hearing. From there, it turned into a short romantic dating period of 2 years. Very short, right? But during that time, I saw tolerance. The comedy came in some of the antics that were in my life. I drove a truck that sometimes would start, sometimes it wouldn't. You just never know. I watched her stand beside me when she went to the first county fair that she'd ever been to in her life. And me lose my entire paycheck on a game. And the gamer gave me a jackass for the jackass to spend his entire check at one game. And then to go out that night and find the truck wouldn't start and had to try and explain this to a very, very conservative mother who was very worried about her daughter. But she stood with me through that. And then we were married. And this entire time, she calls it her pretty woman story, because this is someone who came from a very conservative background, who had never been to anything except a McDonald's, maybe a Burger King before I met her. She'd never been to a steakhouse. And this is not Richard Gere in no way, shape, or form, other than trying to show her what she'd never had. So I am the sappy old guy that still writes poems. I'm the sappy old guy that will still run her bath water, lay her favorite book beside the tub, and light candles and leave her alone. I'm the sappy old guy that will take you out when it's raining, when it's snowing, drop the top on the convertible, and we'll still go out and drive around just to be there. And some will say, well, that's not real. It's been real for just over 42 years.
All right.
She started out as my pretty date, and she turns into my pretty woman, and I'm still proud to call her that today. I wish she was here. She just doesn't really like storytelling events, but she's went through some very trying times. See, Richard Gere's story ends when everything is great. You don't see the struggles. You don't see when you have the kids and you have all the stresses of life. And that's why this is so special. Someone who stood through all of that time could have walked away at any time and done just like my ex. Yes, my ex-girlfriend got half of everything too. She kept all of the teddy bears, all of the props, and all of the other crap I bought her. But she stayed there. And again, I'm happy to call her my pretty woman. And that is our rom-com that continues today and will continue until one of us dies.
That's great.
Thank you.
I tried to walk over here, but I didn't have. I like to say one word. Oh. I thought one of them stories.
Me too. Me three.
High school. I went to the prom. had a young student teacher in my U.S. history class, AP, by the way, who was saying how nobody had boyfriends and they weren't going to the prom. Now, I was one of 50 students integrated into an all-white high school. And I finally made it to my senior year, and there were slim pickings. And there was no such thing as interracial dating in that county, not at Lew Wallace High School. So I said to my brother John, I said, I need you to ask Curtis if he will go to the prom with me. Curtis lived across the alley, had a younger brother, had a sister, Michelle. He was one of the guys in the neighborhood that when my cousins came down from Detroit and they were fine, we would have like 20 boys at our house. And their parents would come looking for them about midnight, trying to figure out where were their kids. They were all at our house. The back door was open. You could look up the stairs and see the lights on. My mother would make tuna salad and would have crackers and potato chips. My father would have bought a case of orange crush pop from the gas station. And we were just in there laughing and talking, and my parents were pretending like they were asleep. So I knew Curtis, and Curtis was a gentleman. And so he said yes. And we went to the Lew Wallace Senior Prom. That was money I didn't need to spend. You know what I'm saying? I look at all the preparations for prom now. As I came down the stairs in my custom-made gown with my brocade coat, my hair done up in Shirley Temple curls, matching slippers, and the whole neighborhood was standing around outside watching to see us go off to prom. It wasn't all that. But I had a good time. Curtis is no longer here with us, but I remember him being such a gentleman. And you could have romance at whatever level you want to have it, okay? Now take that, Daddy. But I'm reaching into this lime green basket, and Kyle Corbin is going to come on down and tell us our next story.
Hi. Thank you.
Getting on my nerves.
So, I love rom-coms. So when this came up, I was pretty excited. I grew up on them. Started with Grease, probably. Everybody calls it a musical, but it's kind of a rom-com too. Watching my whole life, they're my favorite kind of movie. Princess Bride is my favorite all time. And growing up that way made me want to live in rom-com world, right? I wanted that. I didn't want the slow build. I didn't want the music playing. I wanted the lightning, the one where you sit down and they lock eyes and just, man, you knew that was your person, right? So I'm always looking for that, or always had looked for that. And so one day a few years ago, I actually thought that I was leaning that way. I worked at Eli Lilly at the time, and we were in a new construction zone back then. So the air sometimes would get a little dusty, and that'll be germane in a minute. So I was talking to one of my friends that I worked there with. Her name was Kim. Kim and I got along great. Everything was wonderful. When we talked, I was funny, witty, charming, all the things that you think. And, well, let me stop there and tell you about dust being in the air.
No.
So when you've got some dust in the air or some type of like an irritant, you can think of your body like a hotel, right? So it's got two defense mechanisms the hotel does. If there's a lot going on, you cough, which is the hotel saying, everybody in the hotel,
Please exit in an orderly fashion. And you cough, get the guests out of the room, right? But if it's a little more immediate, it's a sneeze. And what that is the lobby's filling up with riffraff. We need to get them out now. Right? And that's coming out at over 50 miles an hour, sometimes almost 100. So bear that in mind while Kim and I are talking, everything's going wonderfully. And I'm thinking, here it is, man, like it's coming. And she goes, I can't really remember exactly what she said, but then she said something that made me kind of laugh, and I kind of inhaled, and then the dust got me. Oh man, I'm going to sneeze. So I don't want to sneeze like at her. I'm polite that way. So I turn and, do that. Well, as I said, it's 100 miles an hour, right? And it's trying to get out the lobby. Well, the lobby's closed. So all that force, all that pressure, it went out the emergency exit. So I sneezed, and I think you knew by my face. I'll be back. And I turn and scurry away. I had to get rid of a lot of clothes that day. So luckily I had a spare change in my locker at work, but it was shirt, it was underwear, it was pants, it was socks, it was shoes. Right? So I come back and she actually has done something mildly similar. So she recognized and she said, you had a little bit of a problem, right? And I was like, lightning bolt pass. But we are still friends, and yeah, so there is my rom-com.
Oh, wow. That was a good one. Glad that was you and not me.
Talk about the emergency.
Now, I know y'all thinking about these rom-com moments now. So if you think of something you want to say, just get a slip of, where's she going? A slip of paper? Oh, she's getting somebody's name now. All right. See, that's how it works. That was hilarious. Just totally hilarious. Oh. College. I went to a small liberal arts school in Iowa. It was smaller than my high school. And there were not very many Black students on campus. But the years I was there was the largest influx of Black students they'd ever had. And when you're on a small campus, you know everything that's going on. And my mother had given me some rules, like when I moved into this co-ed dorm, she said, be sure you lock the door at night. I said, oh, Mama, why do you think I came here? Didn't set too well. But our next teller is Rick. Is it Samira? Come on down.
Get a chair. Oh, no. Here. Sorry.
No problem. You're at home.
All right, start parking.
You're at home.
So good.
Closer to the mic. All right, we're good.
Okay, we got him on the camera.
Thank you. All right, what I'm about to tell you is true. All true.
Yeah.
No pants were dirty than the. I've always wanted to be a dad. Always wanted to have a family. And one day I woke up and I was in my mid-40s alone. I tried everything. I tried the internet.
going to bars, which that's really, if you don't like me when I'm sober, you're not gonna like me when I'm drunk. Speed dating, tried it all, and it just wasn't working. And life was hard, life was lonely because all my friends were married. Some were on their second, and one was even on his third marriage. I called him Richard Burton. So I was tired of being lonely, striking out. I don't know where you single girls were, but I went to the pound and decided I'd get a dog. Start my family like that. I came to this one basset hound in the corner, shy little guy. Finally got him to come up to the cage, and I scratched his ear. He gently licked my hand, and I thought, this is him. This is my wingman. This is my buddy. And I took him, and it was St. Patrick's Day. And they said on the internet that they would not give you the dog right away, that there'd be a 1-day waiting period. They lied. They gave me the dog right then and there. So I loaded him up in my car, took him home. I was going to meet friends that night because it was St. Patrick's Day. And I got him set up in the kitchen, locked the door, came home that night about 1 or 2, and he had torn the place apart. He had climbed up on the table, onto the screen. He had taken down a half a carafe of cold coffee. I thought, we're gonna have to do something about this. So we started going to the dog park. And one day, one amazing day, he saw a big black dog sitting 5 feet in front of this cute woman. So I said, Bogey. Well, Bogey went over, and amazing, ladies and gentlemen, this other dog went down and played with my dog. They ran around the park. This dog, turns out her name was Izzy, would not play with any other dog but my dog, which made it a little easier for me to get the dog. Sure enough, she was a Democrat. A Democrat in Indiana. This was too good to be true. She gave me her number, and we also talked some more. Apparently, her aunt was very sick, so I wanted to respect that. And the next time I saw her at the dog park, she said, "You gonna use that number or what?" So we set a first date, October 13th, Friday. You know what it was for? Scary stories
All right.
from the storytelling arts of Indiana. He was on the board
All right.
of that organization. I thought it was that's cool. That is a cool thing. Of course, what wasn't cool was the way she counted back change at the ticket booth when I went to meet her there. $20, $13, that's $6.50. I watched her just staggered by her incapable of adding $20 to $13. Anyway, she forgot her coat, so I gave her my coat, and it was like 20 degrees that night. But I scored big brownie points. And I got to know her parents. And when I took her to visit my mom, they talked for 5 minutes, and I was in the other room making coffee, and she came in and she said, "For what it's worth, I approve." I think she would have gotten rid of me before her. So I decided to propose to her, and it was at the second date we've ever had was comedy sports. So I arranged for it to be very public because I thought she deserved that. Let somebody know that she was loved. And I won't sing the whole song, have you guys seen Wedding Singer? The very end?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I changed the last lyrics to, and who'll clean up when the dogs have diarrhea? Half of the time, it could be Mia. I want to be the man who grows old with you. I want to grow old with you. And she said yes. And the crowd went crazy. And that was on Friday the 13th. And we tried to have kids, and we lost the first baby. But I'm happy to say that July 13th, 2014, a Friday, Friday the 13th, we had twin boys.
All right. Yeah. That's great.
And we're that family I always wanted. Thank you.
That's great.
I got one word to say. Oh. You know, I love collecting stories about how people met. And that was just so good. Our storyteller we had, I don't know how many of you made it to the Indiana History Center, but our storyteller had a great rom-com story. She talked about having been divorced, not interested in men. She was going around doing her program, and one man after the show invited her for dinner or coffee, and she told him no. And the next time she appeared in the same place, he came back and talked her into going out with him. And to end the long story, they had been married for 12 years when I met her. So it was like, I said, oh, we need that for next month. But that was our rom-com story then. Well, let me reach into this lime green basket, because our next teller is Rick Phillips. Rick, come on down.
Pull that microphone back. Be careful.
Damn, you two guys have got to give a guy a chance. My father was battery operated car, police car, with a sticker on the bottom that said made in Vietnam. Now that's not the way my grandmother says he started. She says he started next to a tool shed on North Purdom Street in Kokomo, Indiana. I knew him as a human being who I knew him this way for over 50 years. And he and my mother knew him as a human being for over 50 years. And sadly, my mother passed when she was 48. And he dropped into a very deep funk for a couple of years. And this lady who worked in the department that I managed, oversaw, she called me one day and she said, would your father be interested if I gave him a call and asked him out? I said, well, Hell, I don't know. Now, that might be unusual to y'all, but you need to know some of the backstory. She had been my high school English teacher. Later, I was her supervisor. They started dating. Later, I fired her. Later, she became my stepmother. Later, she informed me, after my father passed, that he had become a battery-operated car, police car, with a sticker on the bottom that said, "Made in Vietnam." She believed that his spirit had condensed into this battery-operated car. You should also know that she was a fortune teller, that she believed that she could divine spirits, and that she spoke often to inanimate objects. And my father spoke to her through this spirit. In fact, if she had a question and she would ask the question, later that night, my father, in the form of this police car, would answer her in the form of yes, no, or maybe. Much like a magic 8-ball, except only with 3 answers. So, for instance, should she go to the grocery store? And if the answer was yes, it would go boop, 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 boop. If the answer was no, it would go. And the answer was maybe, it would spin around. That's not bad for a guy who started behind a tool shed on North Purdom Street in Cookville, Indiana. According to my grand. I think what's mostly really funny about this is when my stepmother died, her family called me up and says, she wants you to have. I said, hell no.
Hilarious. That thing's still going off someplace. It's really wild.
Rick, that was good. Oh, Lord. I don't know what was better, the sound effects or the expression on your face.
Expression said it. That was something.
Now, there's still time for you to sign up. Tell one of these stories. Well, I just want you to know the way I got to Indianapolis was because I lost my job. Called RIF, Reduction in Force. And my supervisor felt so bad, he told me about a job opening in Indianapolis at the Indiana Department of Public Instruction. So I moved down here, got a job, enjoyed myself, loved it, went from job to job, got a boyfriend who I didn't know was trying to talk to me. Now I'm gonna tell you, I don't think about men trying to talk to me. That's just the furthest thing from my mind. I remember one time somebody said I was trying to take a woman's boyfriend. Now I remember talking to him, and I knew he was my cousin's best friend's boyfriend. And he said, well, we come to Indianapolis all the time. Why don't I give you, I said, well, I'll give you my number, and when you guys come down, we can hang out. Well, his girlfriend came through and said, what you got? And he tried not to show her the number. And I'm thinking now, why are you having a problem with giving her the information she has requested? It was a New Year's Eve party. People had been drinking. So a fight ensued between him and her. And my cousin, whose party it was, kicked them both out and said, "If you're gonna fight, go out in the alley." Well, from that time on, I was known as the femme fatale. I didn't even know it.
Take that, Daddy.
Yeah, take that, Danny. Our next teller is Rebecca Lund.
I'm gonna have to leave this down where it is.
Make yourself home.
Okay. So I was ensnared by the idea of romance pretty early. I was about 4 or 5. My great uncle Jim had just passed away, and I remember my mom being really sad for my great aunt Lynn. She sighed and she said, they had a real love affair, with a smile on her face and stars in her eyes, and she meant it. Aunt Lynn and Uncle Jim were known for being happy, close, and truly in love. And that's when I knew I wanted that. When I was about 9, I watched The Princess Bride with my dad. Second time we've heard about that movie tonight. That's the greatest movie ever made. Fencing, fighting, torture, revenge, true love, miracles, and a lot of adventure and laughs. My dad and I still watch that movie together to this day. As I hit my teen years, high school, college, handful of boyfriends, typical stuff. By the time I graduated college, though, I was ready for the adventure part of my story to kick in. So my friend Jen and I decided to impulsively move to Florida with no plan, none. We just packed up everything we could in our cars and hit the road. And this was in 2001, so we did not have cell phones yet. We bought a set of walkie-talkies so we could keep in touch from between the cars on the way down the road. Well, when we got there, I got sick almost right away with the flu. So Jen did what you did back then. She went to Blockbuster to get us a couple of movies. She comes back and she says, I met a guy, friendly, funny, kind of cute. He gave us his number and offered to show us around. And I said, wait. You're kind of cute or my kind of cute? And she said, definitely, you're kind of cute. Well, okay then. So of course, then she gets sick. So it's my turn to go to Blockbuster. So we head on down there. It's a Saturday night, so it is crowded. But I pick him out right away. Buzzed head, earrings, slim build, not too tall. Remember, Eminem was really popular during this time. He was very cute, but the line was long. There was no guarantee I was going to end up at his register. So I get in line and I'm waiting, but he is moving through the people really fast, faster than all the other registers. He would share with me later that he did that on purpose, so I would end up in his line. Of course he did. Then I get in front of him and I say, hey, so you don't know me, but you met my friend Jen. And his face goes blank as he tries to thumb through the 27 Jennifers that he knows. And I said, we just moved here. You offered to show us around. He was like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, I'm sorry we haven't called. I was sick. Now she's sick. Would you like our number so you can call us? And he says, yes. And his face lights up like the sun. He called and that was it. Eric and Rebecca. We were attached to him. He was a musician, played in a band, loved quoting movies, loved The Princess Bride. And it was great. He didn't take life too seriously. He never met a stranger. It was a good balance for me in a lot of ways. We'd go watch his band play. We'd watch movies together. We'd go out for drinks with our friends. We were that couple that everyone envied. We weren't just in love. We enjoyed each other. And it was great. So we got married. And that's it, right? That's the end of the rom-com. Alas, no. Like a lot of big personalities, Eric was really good at hiding what he didn't want you to see. And for him, that was drinking. We both drank. We were often the life of the party, but the drinking didn't stop at the party. And as we got older, I kept trying to put some distance between us and the drinking. And Eric just kept ramping it up. He didn't think it was a problem. He died thinking it wasn't a problem. Eric's spiral was not a short spiral. We were together almost 18 years. And watching him destroy himself hollowed me out in a lot of ways. But he left me a gift, a daughter, Alex. So I poured myself into being her mom, participating in school, doing activities, going on trips. I got really good at braiding hair, building Legos, baking, and therapy. A lot of therapy. Professionals, grief groups, a lot of reading on my own. One of Alex's school counselors actually asked her recently if her mom was a therapist. She said no. She just loves how the human brain works. God, I love that kid. She's not a kid anymore. She's a teenager, learning to drive, straight A's, going off to college in a couple of years. She is my best friend and my single biggest joy. So, thinking back to Lynn and Jim, what is love? Is it my mom who taught me how to be a good mom so I could lean into that when my daughter needed me? Is it my dad who still watches my favorite movie with me every single chance we get every time I ask? Or is it my daughter who not only gave me a reason to live when hope seemed a little lost, but who is a big part of the reason why I love the life we live today? So while it may not be as cute or sexy as romance, I would argue that those are all real love affairs. All right.
We all agree.
Yeah.
That was great, Rebecca. Thank you so much. Well, I did have a romance. It was on, it was on. It was on, it was on. It was on, it was on. As my great aunt Lila would say to me, why buy the cow if the milk is free? Should have listened to her. My brothers were in Los Angeles living at that time. And we had decided we were going to go on a cross-country trip. So we drove from Indianapolis to Mississippi to Dallas, partied in Dallas so hard with college friends of mine that we had changed our mind about going to California. So when I called my brothers to tell them I wasn't coming, they said, what day are you going to get here? So we drove and drove and drove across the state of Texas. I lost my hat in El Paso. I had a great denim hat, left it there. But we finally made it. And they were really interested to see what kind of boyfriend did I have. This boyfriend had already lied to me, which I didn't find out too much later, that he was only 6 years older than me. He was almost a decade older than I was. But you know, I'm so young and naive, I think people don't lie to you about stupid things. At any rate, that Christmas, my brothers called from California to wish us a Merry Christmas. I wanted to talk to the old gray ass. And I said, he's not here. And so his friend Greg asked, well, when will he be back? We just calling to wish him happy holidays. And I said, well, I don't know. He left 2 weeks ago taking out the trash and I haven't seen him since. That's a comedy part. But right now, Angela Hughes is going to come on down.
Coming down is easy for the short people. Oh, I kind of like it up here.
Make yourself at home.
Thank you. The story I'm about to tell you is true, and it is a rom-com. Now, you'd think if most of you are native to this state, you wouldn't have to leave this state to get your heart stomped on, right? You can usually get that. I mean, we've heard a few stories, but I decided I had to go halfway around the world and to have that experience. So I stayed around for a little while longer because I'm stubborn like that. But then I came on home because I wanted to be with my family. And I was not thinking about men or comedy. And you did say I could separate the two. The comedy part is I did not know this was a competition. I didn't know we were going to be recording. I thought this was just going to be this small little group. So there's the comedy jokes on me. Now get back to the romance. So I was not thinking about any of that. I had a job. I had a house. I was, trying to hold it down. And I met a fella, and he turned out to maybe be worse than the one I went all the way around the world to meet. And I just didn't know what to do with myself. And I overheard, we had a lady come into our school. I was an early childhood educator at the time. And I overheard her talking, having a conversation about a game. And I perked up because I recognized that game. I said, "Oh, I know Dungeons and Dragons." And I said, "Oh, you're going to play games?" "Yeah, it's my birthday. My friend's going to do a one shot." I said, she said, "Oh, please come." I said, "All right, I will." And I went to this place called Arsenal Cafe. It's not there anymore. It's down there at Fountain Square for a hot minute. Went in, played this game, had a great time. And the owner saw me particularly enjoying myself and said, "Hey, you look like somebody like to come and play regularly." And I said, "I would. I have nothing else going on, believe me." And so he had me come down on Monday. He said, "Come in a little early so we can roll up a character." So I'm sitting there. I came in there about a little bit before 5 o'clock. It was summery, sometime in the summer. So it's going to be a while before the sun sets, right? So the sun's still outside, it's still light outside, and the front door to this cafe is all glass. So I'm sitting there rolling up this character, and there's a little bell on the door, and it tinkles, and you just kind of naturally turn to that noise, and I saw this tall drink of water lit up from the back. He looked like he was covered in gold from the top of his head. I said, "Who is that?" It just came right out of my mouth. And the owner, he says, "Hey, Bob." And he looked at me and goes, "He's married." Oh, so I made sure he ended up being in my group. But I made sure I was sitting well away. That's not how I roll. And so, very lovely man, offered to help me if I ever had any questions. I'm like, "Yeah, thank you very much," but I stayed off to myself. And I didn't know this, but a couple of months later, his wife passed away. And when I heard that, I especially stayed away because I thought, I don't want to be disrespectful. There's a mourning period. And I just kind of put him on a shelf. I got, life is short. And one day, his friend came, and he had a brand new iPhone. And I said, "Oh, let me take a look at that." And he was showing me all these things, and I found out later. He says, "That guy was talking to my girl and hadn't even asked her out yet." So he hurried up and at the end of the game came running around the table and said, "Hey, here's my number. If you ever got any questions." And I looked at him. I said, "Yeah, you've actually given me your number a couple times before. I've got it. I'll get it." He said, "Well, let me look outside. It's dark." And we're walking outside, and then it dawns on me, I think this guy's interested. And I looked up at him, and he looked at me. He was beat red. I was beat red. And we've been rolling critical hits ever since.
Yeah. That was good.
I love the fact that I'm just going to take it that you all got the repetition.
All I gotta say is, "Woo, child." That was a good one. Made me feel good, gave me a little hope. Gotta keep hope alive. Hey, Anthony, I saw you come in. Glad you came. Now, topic is rom-com. We had some good stories here tonight. You know, I used to listen to my uncle talk when we would drive from Gary, Indiana to Canton, Mississippi. Because, you know, as a child, you were told you were to be seen and not heard. And, ooh, some of them stories. How he would be courting. And he'd wait till the woman's husband went to town. And the woman would come and meet him in the cornfield at the end of the row. And I went, oh. He said, well, baby, they didn't have hotels in them days. I learned a lot.
We are too.
But right now, our next teller is Stephanie.
Oh. I don't want to tell anything. I just want to stand here and act like I'm talking. Okay. I don't have any rom-com stories in my life. And if I do, I've blocked them out so well I can't remember them. But I want to tell you about my mother. My mother, my dad died kind of early. He was only about 48. And my mother was a couple of years younger than him. So after a few years, and I lived, my mother and my grandmother and I, we lived together in the little house. And well, you know, I was a teenager. I didn't pay much attention to some of the stuff they were doing. But my mother was single. And she was kind of cute. We had a friend that used to call us both low to the ground because we both were short. And my mother was built kind of cute. So, you know, she wasn't really looking for anybody, but there was a gentleman in the neighborhood that was single. And of course, after a while, they'd play cards together somewhere. He would kind of follow her home so she wouldn't be in the dark by herself. And one evening, they were standing on the little step. And it was a little step like this. He was tall. She was standing there. And my grandmother, of course, lived with us. And my grandmother was one of those people that was selectively deaf. You know? And also she had a problem with her eyes, which was real. So she would wander close to where she wanted to see. And one day I was sitting in the living room watching TV, and my grandmother kept walking back and forth toward the door. And she finally she got up her nerve and went to the door. And they used to call my mother sister because she was the middle child. And she'd say, "Sis, what are you doing?" And my mother said, "Mama, I'm just talking. Okay, I'm just talking." And mother would continue talking. And then she'd say, "Sister, what are you doing?" And mother said, "Mama, we're still talking." I said, "Grandmother, come over here and look at this." I'm trying to distract her. Pretty soon, grandmother could not stand it. She went to the front door, opened it. She said, "Sister, there are dishes in here. You need to come in here and get these dishes done." And this poor man said, "Okay, I'll see you later." And he took off. And I felt so sorry for my mother. I said, "Do you want me to go to the dishes?" She says, "I want you to go to bed and leave me alone." My grandmother and I went to bed.
I think there's terminology for what your grandmama was doing.
We don't use
Okay.
we don't use that term.
You know, when I first started going to the storytelling festival down in Jonesboro, Tennessee, after they were finished at all the tents, all the tellers would go into town to some tavern and they would tell these risque tales. And I always wanted to do one of them shows, but I gotta have experience to tell some of them stories. I'm gonna work on it. Now remember, if you think about a story you want to tell, you just let me know. Because we got blank slips of paper. But our next teller is, oh, I know this is gonna be good. No Bewley, come on down.
I wondered where you were. I didn't see you. Yeah.
So, is this on? Okay. My wife and I met at Eagle Creek Reservoir windsurfing. That's a different story. The story is our first date, which could be considered a rom-com, I would think. Well, I didn't know her name. I just knew she windsurfed, and I always followed her. When her car parked, I would pull my car in next to it. So when we left the lake, we would be next to each other. And so I decided I was going to ask her out. And the first thing I said, which was a fantastic pickup line, she's standing this close to me, and I said, "How old are you?" I still don't know why I said that, but I did say it. But I had planned better. I said, "Would you like to go out Friday night to dinner and a movie?" And for some reason, she said yes. And so I said, "Where do you live?" She said, "Zionsville." And to me, that was just like naming some Russian town. And I had no idea where it was. And I said, "I don't know where Zionsville is. I don't know anything about it. I'm from the east side of Indianapolis. We don't get beyond Washington Street and Raymond." And so she drew me, or I don't think she could draw a map, but she wrote from Michigan Road and 465 how to get to Zionsville and to her house, and very detailed. And so I headed there on Friday night. And I was supposed to be there at 6, and I was going to be pretty close to 6 when I got there. And I got to 116th, where she said, "Go 1 mile north and turn left." I looked at the odometer. It is pouring down rain. The windshield wipers won't work enough. And I go to a 1/2 mile, and there's a road, but it's not the road she said. And then I go on, and I go 3 miles, and there is still no road. And by then I'm thinking, she just made up. And she's not, I don't have a date. I'm just driving around on the northwest side. Well, I was persistent, and I went ahead and drove back the other direction. Still no Templin Road. I turned around at 116th Street, read the directions again, drove, got to about 3 miles, and there was a left turn that I could take. So I take the left turn, and of all things, that left turn goes from east-west to north-south, follows all the way down to the zigzag she told me about, and there's her street, which is a dead end, and she's the last house. And I came up, and she's standing on the porch thinking, "You stood me up." And I'm thinking, "You gave me a bogus map." And so we did not argue too much, and we got to the theater, and we were going to eat at a Chinese restaurant just left of the theater. And she looked at the menu on the outside, and she goes, "I can't eat here." And I said, "What?" She said, "I only eat General Tao's chicken, and they don't have it." And I thought, really? Okay. So there was a Pizza Hut, and we walked to a Pizza Hut. Then we came back and went to this wonderful 1955 Hitchcock movie called The Trouble with Harry, which was an old rom-com, whatever they are. And we watched that, and I did not want to leave. I did not want this date to end. So I said, "Would you like to go out and get a drink?" And she said, "Yes." And it's on the northwest side of town, so I have no clue where to go get a drink. So I took her to a place to drink, and we sat in a booth, and the waitress said, "What would you like to drink?" And both of us said, "We don't drink." Well, we'll take a Coke. And so they filled our pretzel basket about 4 times while we sat there and drank Coke and talked. And finally, I took her home, got the greatest kiss. And then in the back seat, she left her jacket. And as I drove, I smelled the scent of her chocolate. It was wonderful, and she's still up there. And it's been 42 years. Thank you.
I love a love story.
I knew it was gonna be good. Congratulations on 42 years. You know, I like to hear the man tell how they met, but then I like to take the woman outside and say, okay, now what really? I know you left that jacket on purpose, okay? Well played. All right, now, if you think of another story you want to tell, you let me know. I have no idea what time it is. I'm reaching into the lime green basket. You know, I forgot to tell y'all, there were first, second, and third place prizes. And we actually give you cash money. Oh, yeah. I forgot to check. That was important, wasn't it?
Okay.
Our next teller is Donna Jones.
I really don't have a romantic comedy story. I just got this bright shirt in the mail, and so I'm gonna show up. But I guess there is kind of a love story about that. I moved into my current house back in 2018, and my old TV didn't work anymore, so I had to buy a new TV. I actually bought the TV so I could watch Colbert. I have been in tears all week because this is the last week for Stephen Colbert on the Late Show. However, he will live on in perpetuity on YouTube. So that's where I'm gonna be London this week. Well, he says he's gonna be ass deep in a margarita.
I'm gonna miss Stephen Colbert. And I think it's a shame that our country has come to this. And I really love watching him. And I love watching him and his wife. And I love watching David Letterman throw furniture off the building. I was great. Now let me remind you one more time. Next month, we're gonna be way up north. If you don't remember anything, just remember to go to storytellingarts.org and look up our calendar. But our next topic is going to be stains. Stains. Think about that.
Stains.
Stains. Stains.
It's actually singular.
Okay, it's going to be stain. No. All right. Well, I'm giving our judges time to finish their writing. I know it's going to be difficult tonight. Jennifer is not here tonight, Jennifer Clee, but I heard through the grapevine that she won at the Moth in Louisville. I'd like to say congratulations to her, and she did our cooking proud, okay? But let me reach into this lime green basket, pull out another name. Our next teller is, I needed some new glasses, but I don't want to give up my purple frames. Leland McNally, come on down.
The room's a lot more safer back there. You know, it's funny how we go through life and when you have a spouse, married, whatever, you look at different events as a rom-com. Many years ago, I was leaving the racetrack on Carb Day, and who's participating in Carb Day? Right on. So they had a dance contest. I know what you're thinking. That's the undance place there. Hallmark had a dance contest, and I did a silly thing as I was leaving the track. Then I got called back for the semifinals to dance against 9 other dads. There's more. You do things in life we don't share with other people just because they happen. You don't think of it. We all been there. Then I had to tell my wife I entered a dance contest at Carb Day, and now we have to go back because I'm in the semifinals. As you can see, I am not a dancer. So now my wife and daughter, and we had to go back to the track, and now I have to dance against 9 other trash-talking dads. It's Carb Day. Those dads are exactly what you'd expect them to be at Carb Day. So it was a fun time. We were also in the process of adopting another baby. So money is like, oh my gosh, it's $1,000 I can win at the track. Once again, not a dancer, but I was convinced I just won $1,000. So there was a guy who could dance, and the place went crazy. The place went insane. Oh my gosh, huzzah! He can dance. We found our Indianapolis champion. He comes in second. And we're all this, for drunk, trash talking dads, that silenced all of us. Like, you were supposed to win. And then they called my name. And that is how I won my first oversized check. And I also had to call my dad because I really didn't want word getting out from my 3 brothers telling my dad I won a dance contest. I had to have them hear that from me first. So now I won an oversized check and a trip to New York City to dance against 3 other dads for $5,000. Oh, relax. This story doesn't go like that. So then I didn't tell anyone at work. Nobody knew. And the reason that pushed me over the edge was, do you remember that Chris Farley skit where he does the cartwheel? Yeah. So if you find the video online, at about maybe half a second before I do my fat guy cartwheel, there's a look on my face of, I wonder if I can pull off a cartwheel in Crocs, because I've never done a cartwheel before. But I have like 100 people in front of me, probably twice as many as here. Because you've been drinking all day, now's the best chance to try that in front of people. And everyone had their phone up. Okay, this fat guy's going to do something. And it turns out that's what pushed me ahead of this guy. And then we get to New York City, and it is a ballroom dancing teacher. There's a break dance teacher, and a third guy. We're pretty sure was a exotic dancer. So, and the clip we danced to was "You Can't Touch This." It was like a 60-second clip. And who's here's familiar with the song MC Hammer? It wasn't even the best part of the song, right? You know what I'm talking about. So so I'm like, and I'm not a dancer. Going, I can't dance to this. She goes, well, you better dance that ass off because we need that money. Anyway, we get out there, and I'll never forget. My wife comes up to me, and my wife's, this is one of those. Like it's like we're in this show, we're in this movie, the Leland Show, and she goes, those other dudes were so happy to meet you. And I dabbled in mathematics, so I had to say, yes, their chance of winning $5,000 just went from 25% to 33 1/3. That's exactly how that went out. We were on TV with Peyton Manning, Archie Manning, and Eli Manning. And if you can imagine their lifestyle, they don't have anything to do with dancers. And that is how I won my second oversized check. And one thing I can tell you this week, I lost. I came in last place. But I did go back to Postmasters and won a lot of speech contests with it. But if you're ever walking through the airport with an oversized check, carry it upside down. So people are, they can sort of, and as I wrap up here, Hallmark flew us out there on JetBlue, and the flight attendants were like, oh my gosh, it wasn't Spirit, no worries. They're like, oh my gosh, an oversized check. Oh my goodness, we must take care of you. And I remember thinking, Lady, if I was a millionaire, you think I'd be flying JetBlue?
But do you still have the check? Is it hung on the wall somewhere? Leland, is the check on the wall somewhere?
No,
Frank?
no, we're still married, so no.
That was great. Well, let me remind you that tomorrow, Freetown Village will be at Indiana Landmarks. And we'd like for you to register ahead of time, please. And it's Memorial Day, a history worth remembering. Starts at 6 o'clock. It's a free event. Our next story slam will be at the Grand Junction Brewing Company on 1189 East 181st Street. Woo! Job. In Westfield, Indiana. I have pulled the last name out of my green basket. Bella, come on down.
I've been with you enough, I feel like I can try a hand.
Yes.
So I'd like to share with you the story of how I met my last ex-boyfriend. It was a meet cute gone incredibly wrong. So, 4th of July weekend, barbecue with friends, having a great little night, and this guy walks in. And he is wearing what I can only describe as the ugliest effing shirt I have ever seen. It was a Hawaiian with parrots wearing fedoras. Now everyone erupts in laughter and cheers because he's back from drill since he was a Marine. I was a little uninhibited, and the first thing that came out of my mouth was, "Who the hell invited Jimmy Buffett?"
Oh.
Which he retorts, "Who the hell invited you?" And I said, "How was your shift at Trader Joe's?" It started a very slippery slope of us sitting like this across from each other for about an hour and a half, just spewing and spatting. At this point, all of our friends are watching, deciding if they need to separate us or if we need to get a room. At some point, I realize that I do have to go to the restroom, so I stand up, excuse myself, go inside. And he follows me, which in most circumstances would probably be creepy. But he follows me inside, and while I'm waiting for the restroom, he does the hot guy thing and pins me against the wall, going in for the kiss. It was not a wall. It was an unlatched door to the top of the staircase. Crawl space. After a timble, a tumble, a fumble, and a thud, we end up starfish down on the basement floor. And of course, our friends can hear all of this, so come running in to figure out what was that noise. At that point, we can't really play it very cool anymore. Everyone's like, "Okay, yeah, you two just need to go together. Bye." So I decide that I'm going home, and he says, "No, I'll drive you." And I say, "Okay, no funny business." And no funny business. The same group of friends, 2 days later, he works up the courage to ask me out and has had them proofread this message 3, 4, 5 times, down to every little period, comma, everything. I say yes, because duh, we already fell down a flight of stairs. Like, I'm not going to say no. So another 2 days go by, and it is time for our first date. And I'm excited. And then I get a call. So then I have to call him and say, "Hi, really looking forward to this, not playing any games. Change of plans. I have to leave for Ohio for the week at 7 p.m. And of course, he has a sunset picnic planned for 7 p.m. So we get lunch, all is well. I go to Ohio. I get to Ohio. This is a work trip. I was told that I would have housing, a vehicle, a cat sitter, which my roommate was taking care of at the time, and everything covered. I did not have a vehicle. I barely had housing. All of my meetings got canceled, and then my laptop died, so I still didn't even go to the Zoom meetings. So I'm in shambles, overwhelmed. And what does this guy do? This guy that I have met twice and known for less than 5 days drives to Ohio to pick me up. And so then we go touring through all the different pinball machines, have a whole road trip back with the snacks and playing tag with music. And it was beautiful and it was wonderful. And that relationship ended up very much not like it started as Nicholas Sparks, but it ended up more like Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston in the breakup. And that's the story there. Rom-com for instance.
Oh, that's funny.
That was great, Bella. Thank you. I'm telling you, one good story leads to another. Is there another one out there somewhere? Another rom-com? Well, I'm giving the judges a chance to tally up their scores. Want to remind you about Stain being our next session. I'd like to thank our judges for all the hard work they're doing. I do know that Canary Phillips are out there. And are we having a drawing tonight? Yes?
Yes.
We have another teller?
Yeah, we do.
All right. Come on down. Tell us your name. Our judges will have another slip of paper out. Is that okay? Tell us your name.
Hello, my name is Steph Reck.
Your name is what?
Steph Reck.
Steph Rick.
Stephanie Record, so it's Steph.
Steph Rick. Okay.
This is my first time here.
That's good.
I usually do poetry, but I'm gonna try and tell a story and make it romantic and fun. So all my life, I feel like I've been like right place, right time. But I've also been shy, laid back, very reserved. And so meeting people and especially like girls that I'm interested in never really worked in my favor. But I'm funny, I'm quick, I'm witty, I'm all the things. So one night for my birthday, a friend of mine said, hey, we're at a bar. There's a stage. And they're like, the next girl that walks across the stage, you go up and you say hi. I'm like, all right, fine. Next girl comes up on stage. And I go and I say hi. Our eyes meet, instant connection. That's the last time I saw her, that night. Never saw her again. I searched for her high and low throughout the city of Indianapolis for like 3 years. We went to, I think one year, Jill Scott and Maxwell came and a friend of mine drove and dropped us off at what used to be called Conseco Fieldhouse. And I held the door open for the people that I was with, and I held it open for the people coming in behind me. The person coming in behind me was the girl that I met at the bar 3 years ago, right? So I'm like, okay, but she was with someone. Yeah. All right, fine. So then like a month later, I'm at this spot on Pennsylvania Avenue doing poetry, and I see the girl in the audience. I'm like, well, there she is, but she's with the same person. So I'm like, all right, well, forget it. So about 2 months later, back at the club that we met at, they had an open mic night for Pride Week. And I was up on stage and I saw the girl. Cool. And so I was with my best friend who had been drinking. And she goes up to said girl and is like, my best friend has had a crush on you for years. I was like, well, yeah, that's me. That checks. Like, yeah, I'm going to crush on you real hard before I ever say anything. And so she was like, all right, we'll hook it up. We exchange numbers. We go out. We end up getting married. I ignored thousands of red flags because I chased her for 3 years. And I am now happily divorced. I am living out all my dreams and fantasies. I've been having the time of my life for the past 3 years, and now I am up here telling you this story, and that's it.
Steph, you hit all the marks. It was funny. That was comedy. and it was romantic. And I want to say, oh. And I say, I want that to happen to me. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know how to act. Okay, I'm just not gonna lie to you. I said to my nieces, I said, you know what? I'm gonna start dating and I'm gonna find me a husband. And they said, for real, Auntie? And I said, you know I'm lying. You know I'm not lying, right? But I love a good romantic story. Makes my heart feel good, makes me smile, and it makes the world go round. Okay, tomorrow night, 6 to 7, Memorial Day, A History Worth Remembering with Leon Bates at Indiana History Center. And please go online and register. It's free. Don't forget, we'll be at Grand Junction Brewery. The topic is staying. 1189 East 181st Street. Ooh-wee. And if you're of a mind, text SAI 244-321. Tell us how we doing. Add $1 too if you want to. We love it if you do. But we understand if you don't. Come to our next Story Slam. I don't know who's got the results. Do we have the results yet?
We just sit down.
Okay,
Sign
they're
up
still
for
working on it.
our, Celestine, encourage people, we can sign up for our newsletter. I, helped write it. Go to storytellingarts.org and pop up will show up and you just put your email address in and you get our newsletter and then you'll know when all the slams are.
You'll see our calendar of events.
Yep.
What is the date next month in the?
Who's got a calendar out?
It's the 17th.
Okay, I'm glad they knew. And it's June.
17.
And, but don't listen to me. You can go to storytellingarts.org and everything you want to know is right there. I'm gonna sit down. Because I've used all my energy.
Any other yellow slips?
Are we having a drawing tonight? Did I ask that question already? Yes, we are. For season tickets. Woo woo. So that's why we want that yellow paper completed. Now, as we announce the winners, we'd like for you to hang around so we can take your picture, show you off to the rest of the world, and okay. So we're paying up tonight, right?
Yeah.
They're having too much fun on
I
there.
know.
Do y'all have a story?
Tell us what's so funny.
Our third place winner is Bella. Our second place winner. I can't read this. Come here. Rick S. I was a Rick C. It's Rick C.
Are you Rick?
Yes.
Yeah.
Rick. Rick. It's you. It's you, baby. It's you. You have been chosen. In first place, no beauty.
Yeah, no.
The wind has shut the women out. And you know what? It's so good to hear a man tell a good romantic story. I love it. Listen, thank you for coming out.
Oh, we better raffle.